Lena is a biologist who used to be in the military. She is deeply sad because her husband, Kane, went missing over a year ago during a secret mission. Lena misses him every day and tries to focus on her work, but the pain of losing him never goes away. One day, something unexpected happens. Kane suddenly returns home. But something is very wrong. He doesn't act like the man she remembers. He seems distant and confused and doesn't answer her questions about where he's been. Instead of being happy, Lena becomes worried as she realizes something terrible might have happened to him. Soon, Kane's condition gets worse. He starts bleeding and becomes very sick. Lena rushes to get him to a hospital, but before they can get help, they are stopped by a group of mysterious soldiers. These soldiers take Lena and Kane to a secret facility called Area X. At Area X, Lena meets Dr. Ventress, a serious and calm psychologist. Dr. Ventress tells Lena that Kane is in critical condition and was part of a mission into a strange area called the Shimmer. The Shimmer is a mysterious zone that began after a meteorite hit the Earth. It has been slowly growing, covering everything in its path with a glowing, shimmering light. No one who went into the Shimmer ever came back, except for Kane, who is now very sick. Lena is shocked and scared. She realizes that the only way to understand what happened to Kane and possibly save him is to go into the Shimmer herself. Even though it's dangerous, Lena decides to join the next team going inside. This new team is led by Dr. Ventress and includes 4 other women: Josie, who is a physicist, Anya, a paramedic, Cass, an anthropologist, and Lena, the biologist. Each of them has their reasons for joining the mission, but Lena's reason is personal. She wants to find a way to save Kane. As the team gets ready to enter the Shimmer, they are warned that it's a very risky mission. The Shimmer is full of strange and unexplained things, and the people who went before them never returned. But despite the danger, the team is determined to go in and find out what's inside. The day arrives, and the team approaches the Shimmer's edge. It looks like a glowing, rippling wall of light. With a deep breath, they step through, leaving the world they know behind. The team woke up, disoriented and uneasy, and began packing their gear. Lena noticed the tension in the group as they prepared to move out. She reminded them that they had lost time and needed to keep moving. Josie, scanning the area with her rifle, voiced her confusion, unable to remember when they had set up camp. Ventress, maintaining her calm demeanor, stated that they had been there long enough and insisted they continue toward the lighthouse. As they moved cautiously through the foggy terrain, Anya and Cass exchanged uneasy glances, both sensing the danger lurking around them. Suddenly, a loud splash startled the group. They turned to see a massive alligator emerging from the water, lunging at Josie, who froze in shock. Anya, reacting quickly, shouted for Josie to move and fired at the creature. Despite hitting it, the alligator kept coming. Lena joined in, and together, she and Anya managed to bring the beast down. Anya, inspecting the size of the alligator, questioned what was happening, her voice laced with frustration and fear. Ventress, unshaken by the encounter, insisted that they continue moving forward. Night fell as they came across an abandoned military base. Lena suggested they camp there for the night, and the team cautiously swept the area, clearing each room before setting up. While searching, Lena and Ventress found a memory card and decided to review its contents. The team gathered around as they watched footage of Kane's previous expedition. The video showed the team in a state of panic, with Kane performing a gruesome impromptu surgery on a teammate, revealing something unnatural inside him. The sight disturbed the group, leaving them silent with dread. Anya was the first to voice her concerns, questioning why they hadn't been informed about the dangers they were facing. Ventress, trying to maintain order, replied that it didn't matter now and that their focus needed to be on reaching the lighthouse. Sensing the tension rising, Lena intervened, urging everyone to stay focused on the mission. Reluctantly, the team agreed to continue, setting up camp inside the base. They took turns on watch, but sleep was hard to come by as anxiety weighed heavily on them. In the early hours, a loud crash jolted everyone awake. Grabbing their weapons, they rushed outside to find that the perimeter fence had been torn open. Before they could react, a massive bear-like creature charged out of the darkness, attacking them. In the chaos, the creature grabbed Cass and dragged her away, her screams echoing into the night as the team stood frozen, unable to stop it. The next morning, Lena insisted on searching for Cass. She followed the trail alone and returned to the group, her expression grim as she confirmed that Cass was gone. The team pressed on, even as the weight of their mission grew heavier with each step. The loss of Cass had left them shaken, but they were determined to push forward. As they moved cautiously, they stumbled upon a small settlement that looked abandoned, but there was something deeply unsettling about it. The houses were overgrown with plant life, and yet the plants had taken on disturbingly human shapes as if the vegetation had somehow mimicked the forms of people who once lived there. The sight made the group uneasy, but there was no time to linger. They needed to keep moving. Josie, trying to make sense of the scene, speculated that the shimmer was refracting and distorting everything within its boundaries, not just light and radio waves, but also DNA, turning normal life forms into something else entirely. This revelation was disturbing, but they all knew that stopping now wasn't an option. The group set up camp again as night fell. They were all on edge, their nerves frayed from the constant tension. As the others settled in, Lena decided to test Josie's theory. She used a small medical kit to examine her blood under a portable microscope. What she saw confirmed their worst fears: her cells were changing. The shimmer was not just altering the world around them, it was changing them too. As the night deepened, the tension among the group finally erupted. Anya attacked Lena, quickly restraining her, Josie, and Ventress. She tied them up in the darkened room of the abandoned house where they had camped. The atmosphere was thick with fear and uncertainty. Anya was desperate for answers, her mind unraveling under the stress of their situation. She paced back and forth, demanding to know why Lena had come on this mission, what secrets she was keeping, and what was happening inside the shimmer. Before Lena could respond, a chilling sound echoed through the room, the sound of Cass's voice, calling out for help. Without thinking, she ran outside, her weapon drawn. The others, still bound, struggled against their restraints, trying to free themselves as the horror outside unfolded. The creature that had killed Cass soon revealed itself. It was a monstrous, bear-like creature, and as it moved, it mimicked Cass's dying screams, a horrific, unnatural sound that filled the room and sent shivers down their spines. Lena, Josie, and Ventress fought to free themselves as the creature attacked. Josie managed to break loose first, grabbing her rifle and firing at the creature with everything she had. The shots hit their mark, and the beast finally collapsed, dead, but the damage was done. Breathing heavily, Lena and the others took in the grisly scene. Ventress, ever focused on the mission, decided that she could not wait any longer. She decided to leave the group and head directly for the lighthouse, and without a word, she gathered her gear and set off alone. Josie, deeply shaken by the events of the night, began to withdraw from the group. She spoke quietly to Lena, expressing her belief that the shimmer was not just refracting light and DNA but also their minds and emotions. Josie seemed to be losing hope, overwhelmed by the fear of what might come next. She expressed a quiet desire to avoid a violent end, like Cass and Anya, and instead let the shimmer take her differently. Lena watched helplessly as Josie walked away, her steps slow and deliberate. As she wandered into the distance, her body began to change, merging with the surrounding plant life. Lena realized with a mix of sadness and resignation that Josie had chosen to become part of the shimmer, allowing herself to transform into one of the human-shaped plants they had seen earlier. Now alone, Lena felt the full weight of the mission on her shoulders. The team had been reduced to just her and Ventress, but Lena knew she had to keep going. The answers they sought were within reach, and she was determined to find them, no matter what the cost. Lena continued her journey alone, reaching the lighthouse, the origin of the shimmer. Lena pushed forward, entering the lighthouse with her senses alert. Inside, she moved through the dimly lit corridors, scanning the area for anything that could provide answers. There, she found Kane's remains. His charred body lay on the ground, a phosphorus grenade by his side. Nearby, there was a camera. She turned on the camera and saw the video inside. The video showed Kane, looking exhausted and worn out, speaking directly to the camera. He calmly left a message, instructing someone off-screen to find Lena. Without any visible emotion, he pulled the pin on the grenade, holding it close to his chest. The screen filled with light as the grenade exploded, and when the light faded, another figure, identical to Kane, appeared, completely unharmed. The doppelganger stared into the camera before walking away. Lena watched the footage with a focused intensity, processing what it meant. Kane hadn't survived, this copy had returned instead. With this knowledge, she pressed on, heading deeper into the lighthouse. She descended a spiral staircase that led her into a large, hollow chamber beneath the structure. At the bottom, Lena found Ventress. She was no longer fully human. Ventress, still aware of Lena's presence, spoke briefly, warning her that the force within the shimmer was unstoppable and would eventually spread beyond control. Her body had begun to disintegrate, her form breaking apart into a swirling mass of light and energy. Lena watched as Ventress's body dissolved completely, absorbed into the glowing mass in the center of the chamber. The mass then turned its attention to Lena, reaching out and absorbing a drop of blood from her face. In response, the mass began to transform, reshaping itself into a humanoid figure that mirrored Lena's movements exactly. Lena studied the creature closely, recognizing that it was mimicking her every action. She moved cautiously, testing the creature's responses. Every movement she made was precisely mirrored by the entity as if it were her reflection in a living form. Realizing the danger and the need to act quickly, Lena reached for the phosphorus grenade she had taken from Kane's remains. She carefully placed it in the creature's hand, watching as it mimicked her grip. With deliberate movements, she activated the grenade, then quickly backed away as the creature ignited. The flame spread rapidly across the creature's body, consuming it entirely. The fire didn't stop there, it extended to the surrounding chamber, igniting the walls and ceiling of the lighthouse. Lena retreated from the building, watching as the fire grew in intensity, setting the entire structure ablaze. The flame spread outward, reaching the twisted landscape surrounding the lighthouse. As the fire raged on, the shimmer began to collapse, its boundaries retracting until it completely vanished, leaving behind only scorched earth and smoldering ruins. Exhausted but resolute, Lena was retrieved by government personnel and brought back to the Area X facility. There, she was debriefed by officials who pressed her for details about her time in the shimmer. Lena answered their questions methodically, focusing on the facts and events that had transpired, offering little emotion in her responses. Once the debriefing was over, Lena was escorted to see Kane, who had remarkably recovered following the collapse of the shimmer. As she approached him, Lena observed his movements and mannerisms closely, noting the subtle differences that suggested he wasn't the man she had once known. When she asks him if he is truly Kane, his response is uncertain, indicating that he doesn't believe he is the original Kane. Lena didn't respond when he asked her the same question about herself. Instead, they embraced, holding onto each other as they tried to make sense of what they had become. As they stood together, their eyes shimmered with the same iridescent glow, a silent acknowledgement of the transformation they had undergone.